Bluey is full of laughs, charm, and those sweet little moments that make it so addictive. But if you look a bit closer, there are all kinds of sneaky details that go completely under the radar. Do you know all of them? Take that moment when Bluey stumbles upon a random money bill on the laundry room floor, for example. She runs off to show Bingo, super pumped about the idea of using it to convince Bandit to buy them ice cream. But let's be real, 2 kids finding cash on the floor at home? That money clearly belongs to one of the parents. Bandit knows that too. So he snatches the bill and, this is the weird part, sticks it behind his back, wedging it between himself and the couch, instead of just putting it in his wallet. A couple of seconds go by, he gets up, and the money is completely gone. Where did it vanish to? There's something just as strange in the episode Phones. At the start, Chili books an Uber for her dad using her phone. She picks it up, makes the same move Bandit did, slides it behind her, and it disappears just like the money. None of the characters wear clothes, so it's not like they've got pockets to stash things. So what's the deal? I've got a theory. Maybe they've got some kind of dimensional pouch on their backs. These dogs aren't your average pups. They talk, drive, live in houses. So maybe a built-in storage space is part of the package. It reminds me of this old tabletop RPG I used to play. There was a guy in our group named Chunky Chuck. He was a massive elf with the power to pull literally anything from his pants pocket. Need a magical axe? He had it. Rope? Food? A canoe? Somehow, always in the pocket. It never ran out of space. That's kind of the vibe we're getting here in Bluey. Well, except no elves, or pants, or canoes. Okay, maybe not the same thing at all, but still, you get what I mean. So grab your invisible storage units. We've got another awesome video full of Bluey theories and weird little discoveries, right here on Bluey Bingoverse. Let's be honest, you've probably wondered this before. Where are the cats in the world of Bluey? Do they even show up? In episode 30 of both Season 2 and Season 3, there's a fun little detail that pops up. A TV show called Cat Squad that's apparently a big deal in their universe. It feels like it's the cartoon equivalent of Bluey itself. Kids love it, and grown-ups can't stop humming the theme song. In fact, we see a few adult characters casually singing the jingle in other episodes, so it's clearly well known. But now the question is Cat Squad just a cartoon? Or is it more like a live-action kids show? Like Power Rangers? Tough to say. Since Bluey is a cartoon and Cat Squad is a cartoon inside that cartoon, it gets a bit complicated. Still, one thing is clear. Cats do exist in Bluey's universe. In the same episode with the library, where Muffin ends up watching Cat Squad, there's a quick moment when she's playing with a soundbook. She hits one of the buttons, hears a cat meow, and immediately shouts with total confidence. There's also a weird little blink and you'll miss it moment in the Tradies episode. While Bluey and Bingo are spying on the backyard workers, there's a background detail on the right side of the screen. A really old school drawing of a dog holding a cat by the scruff, like it's been knocked out or something. It's pretty strange, but it suggests that at some point, cats were a regular part of society in this world. Like the dogs, they probably walked upright and acted like people too. Now, whether that means the cats went extinct, or if Bluey's family just lives in some dog-only city or country, that part's still up in the air. We're gonna need more episodes to connect those dots. You might not notice it right away, but Bandit used to be seriously into sports back in the day. In the episode Dad Robot, when Chili and the kids are fixing Bandit's robot parts, there's a subtle detail on the shelf in the background. A trophy with a big number 1 and a rugby ball right next to it. This ties in perfectly with Bandit's recurring dream sequences, like the one in the episode where Bluey dreams she's become a bat. In that dream, we catch Bandit snoozing on the floor, clutching a rugby ball and clearly lost in memories of his past victories on the field. And take note, Chili's holding a hockey stick in that same scene. Don't forget that detail. We'll circle back to it. As the dream goes on, Bluey finds Bandit in the middle of a rugby match with his old crew, just in time to see him land a score and celebrate. But back to the Dad Robot episode, there's a curious thought. Is that rugby ball on the shelf the same one we see in the Double Babysitter episode, right before Rad and Frisky say their goodbyes to Bandit and Chili? Considering how tightly Bluey connects its world, that's not a stretch. And honestly, it'd be awesome to get a full episode showing how that ball ended up there. Since Bluey loves dropping sneaky pop culture nods, that moment might even be a reference to the famous scene from Breaking Bad where Walter White chucks a pizza onto the roof. It's the kind of inside joke that flies over kids' heads but lands perfectly with adults. Because, yeah, Breaking Bad is definitely not made for children. If you understood this reference, type down below in the comments #pizza so we get to know you better. Now, circling back to Chili. In that same dream episode, if you look behind Bandit on the staircase wall, you'll spot some framed photos. One of them shows someone proudly holding up a first-place trophy. It's clearly not Bandit, though. The character in the photo isn't blue, so that pretty much confirms it's Chili. Which tells us that the hockey stick she's holding probably isn't random. It might be the same one she used when she was an athlete back in school. So here's the question. Are there two separate trophies? Were both Bandit and Chili into sports back in the day? Or are these just little childhood milestones they ended up leaving behind? Or maybe Bandit's trophy only ever existed in his dreams? Across all 3 seasons of Bluey, there are 2 specific photos that quietly decorate the family's home. One of them shows a young Grandad Mort, Chili's father, proudly dressed in his Australian Army uniform. But Mort wasn't just a regular soldier. He was a decorated war hero. That's confirmed by the medal displayed above the armchair near the living room door. And not just any old medal. We're talking about the Victoria Cross. That's the top-tier honor in the British military, given only to soldiers who showed insane bravery under fire after World War II. So yeah, Grandad Mort isn't just some grumpy grandpa. He's basically military royalty. And that whole backstory feels even more believable when you remember the episode where Bluey, Bingo, and Mort are dodging Chili. At one point, they take cover in a cave, and Mort hits them with the line, "Let me show you something I picked up in the jungle." Next thing you know, he's smearing mud on their faces to show them how to blend into the surroundings. The kids love it because, obviously, playing in mud is the best thing ever. But we're also getting a glimpse into just how skilled Mort was back in the day. Now, did he pick that up watching Predator? Or is it the other way around? Maybe Dutch from the movie saw Bluey and took notes from Mort on how to disappear in the wild. And while we're at it, let's not forget Frodo, Sam, and Pippin. Pretty sure they're Bluey fans too. The way they hide from the Nazgul in The Lord of the Rings looks an awful lot like Mort's escape tactics with Chili. So the real question is, who's more terrifying, the Nazgul or Chili? There's a tiny detail in Bluey that most people missed. And it's about the same dollar bill the Tooth Fairy gave Bluey in the market episode. If you remember, Bluey couldn't figure out what to buy with her $1.05. Especially now that Indy was with her, and she didn't want to make her feel left out. It's only when Winton's dad steps in and nudges her toward the toffee apple that she finally makes a decision. But even then, Indy can't eat it. And the story doesn't stop there. After that, Winton's dad hands the bill to Winton, who passes it to the folks at the German sausage stand. And from there, this same bill makes its way through a bunch of characters until it eventually lands in the hands of Indy's mom. And right back to Bluey. That gives Bluey another chance to pass it on, this time to the street musician playing at the market. But the bill's journey doesn't end there. After the musician packs up for the day, he keeps the bill for some reason, possibly because of the cute little tooth drawing on it. We don't see it again until the dance mode episode. If you look closely, it's sitting right on top of his hat. And then, for several more episodes, the musician hangs on to it, until he finally spends it in Quiet Game, where he's seen using it to buy an ice cream just as the Healer family walks by. Rumors are flying that this same bill might show up again in a future episode, maybe when Bingo loses her first tooth. Fun little bonus, that street musician is actually based on Joff Bush, the guy behind all the music in Bluey. Yep, that's him in dog form. Now, about that same bill from the show. Yep, the $5 note Bluey gets actually exists. It's a real type of money. But if you're wondering why it's pink instead of green, there's a reason. That's not US currency. It's an Australian $5 note. And in real life, it does have a pinkish tone and features Queen Elizabeth on the front. So the money we see in Bluey is actually a dog-themed version of actual Aussie cash. And trust the crew at Ludo Studio to sneak in that detail, down to the doggy Queen Elizabeth on the bill. That's the kind of attention to detail that makes Bluey so fun to rewatch. But want to know what's even better? Subscribing to the channel. That way, you know everything about Bluey before your friends. In the Tradies episode, there's a small but charming detail you might have missed. So far, Chippy, the guy who's always glued to his phone instead of actually helping out, is the only dog we've seen in the series with tattoos. Right now, he's got 2 of them. A tiger on one arm and a cherry on the other. The cherry one is especially interesting because it probably isn't just a random fruit. Chances are that tattoo is a quiet little tribute to his girlfriend. Why? Because we later meet his girlfriend in the episode, and her name is Cherry. So the cherry tattoo is a playful wink from the animators, poking fun at how people sometimes get their partner's name, or even face, tattooed as a romantic gesture. But instead of going for something obvious, Chippy chose cherries. It's simple, symbolic, and way more discreet than having cherry written across his arm. Honestly, it says a lot about him. He may not be the most reliable worker, but he's got taste when it comes to tattoos.